So I hit up Goodwill and I got a bunch of VHS to add to my collection. You may notice that there is a VHS missing from that portion right there. That's because I wanted to make special mention of it. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, still in plastic wrap, never once washed, pretty much immaculate condition. It's got a little ding right there. But you see it's got this sticker, $14.95. There was actually a time when VHS was going for $15. And, I mean, the only bummer about it is it's covering Elsa's face, but, I mean, whatever, to hell with Elsa. Also, just wanted to share with you the beginnings of my Phantasm Shrine. Hi, welcome to the Motion Picture Notion. I'm your host, Gabriel Burton. So here we are, 2020, new year, new decade, new era. So many cool new styles, trends, different subgenres of film and media that are going to be happening. It's exciting. And these next few years are going to be the evolution point where you're going to start to see everything come together, and I couldn't be more stoked, especially because I think that we are heading into what's going to be a very, very, very awesome era. Now, as 2020 goes, there's a lot of reboots or kind of rehashing, similar to last decade. But I think that doing another Ghostbusters movie following the timeline of the original Ghostbusters is a step back in the right direction. And I think that a lot of the PC culture that we've seen coming through in Hollywood media last decade, I think it's grown very tired. Now, we're not out of the woods yet. I do think that we are going to get some absolute dogs, particularly within the next, say, 3 or so years. I'm basing this theory kind of just the way trends come and go. If you look back to like the late 90s, they had all those those Dimension Films horror movies, like Dimension has totally taken a back seat by today's standards, but back then it was like all the rage with all those like hip, sleek, sexy, because so many people used the word hip in the 90s. And it worked for a while. There was like a corniness to the style, but as far as the Scream movies went, it was supposed to be meta. It was supposed to be self-aware to a degree, and that was like a really big thing of the 90s. Everything was sort of a caricature of itself. Everything was kind of corny, and some of it has held up over time. Others maybe not so much. When the year 2000 came, much like this year, it's not like there's immediately going to be something new. I mean, it's a trial and error. People try new things. People try old things, thinking that they're going to somehow cling on to what has already started to grow kind of stale. And then you get films like Halloween Resurrection, and I would say around 2002, that's when people were like, all right, come on, let's get some new material, And then you had films like Cabin Fever and House of a Thousand Corpses, and it's sort of like, oh, okay, this is where we're going. We're going really dark. We're going really messed up. We're going to really push the boundaries with this new era. And it really did. As I've said in previous videos, revolutions have to be kind of audacious. They have to really push the boundaries. And I think that the 2000s did that very well, and they set up a lot of freedoms that had a lot more balance last decade. Well, similar, I think that with the super woke stuff, I think that people are going to continue pushing it for the next couple of years, and I think they're going to lose money. And eventually, somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and do something brilliant. And it's not even necessarily getting away from the whole woke factor. It's the cheesy-ass woke factor. It's the female Ghostbusters and the female Doctor Who, casting Idris Elba as Roland in the Dark Tower movie, and then calling the fans racist when they want to know what's going to happen with Susanna's character, or if she's going to be in the movie at all, a valid question. All that bullshit's gonna stop. And you're gonna see more and more things like Gal Gadot, she was just recently in an interview and somebody tried to kind of bait her and say like, well, do you think that this is a film for women and stuff like that? And she's basically like, I think it's a film for everybody. I don't think that we should exclude anybody in this. She's just such a cool lady. I love her, and I loved Wonder Woman, and I'm definitely going out to theaters to see Wonder Woman 1984 this year. Hands down, no questions asked. We started off this year really awesome, I have to say, at the Golden Globes. Ricky Gervais eviscerated everybody in Hollywood. And it's hysterical because, he's a ballsy bastard, and what he was saying was funny, you know, but good humor is based on truth. And he brought up Epstein. He brought up all this just shit that made a lot of these people really uncomfortable. He called out Apple. He said, you guys are producing a show that's trying to tell people how to be nice to other people, and you run sweatshops in China. Who the hell are you to tell other people what to... And, you know, it's like you got a movie like The Joker, which Joaquin Phoenix won in the Golden Globes for an actor, and even he started kind of calling out the Hollywood elite, like, hey guys, you know, as far as climate goes and shit like that, you need to practice what you preach a little more. Those weren't his exact words, I'm paraphrasing, but this whole like Hollywood elitist bullshit thing, especially with like all the new streaming services that we have these days, I really think that that's going to be a thing of the past, okay? I mean, Hollywood in and of itself may become a thing of the past. It may be all streaming services from here on in. Who's to say? We know that film and media will survive without Hollywood. It doesn't really need it at this point. And in order to not only stay relevant, but to keep their jobs, these people are going to have to get off their high horse at some point. I mean, some of them won't. But at the end of the day, the tides will turn. It's going to become popular to make movies that don't abide by this politically correct box that has been created for everybody. You know, the freedom of expression is going to break through this decade, and people are going to follow the money is essentially what's going to happen. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think that that's great. Now, I've already mentioned the late 90s, flowing into the early 2000s, horror style dying out. It's 2020. I started high school in September of 2000. We've got a couple months before it's been 20 years. But oh my God, where did the time go? But it's kind of exciting because we now have a new nostalgia wave that's going to be coming in. And it's going to be 2000s nostalgia. All that like Wes Anderson, like kind of intellectual, you know, existential, subtle humor that were really big then. They're going to start to like come around. We're going to be revisiting a lot of shit. Napoleon Dynamite is like a classic now. That was like a big hipster film. The 2000s was the decade that hipsters, that the underdogs kind of became the norm. You know, when I went to middle school in the late 90s, it was never... being a nerd wasn't cool. You were made fun of and ridiculed for that consistently. So it really was a cool era in that what was once uncool became cool. There was torture porn as far as horror movies go. Johnny Depp, like, was awesome. Still is. I think that the man is a very talented actor. I think he has some problems with alcoholism. I think that he's lost his way a little bit, but I'm pulling for him. Like, he was really my idol when I was younger. I loved how like weird and just cool and different he was, and he just didn't give a damn what anybody said. And the Tim Burton Johnny Depp dynamic was so cool for a while. You could start technically at like 99 with Sleepy Hollow. I mean, really, you could start with Edward Scissorhands, but like the beginning of the Burton Depp like stream of movies started with Sleepy Hollow. Then you got like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you got The Corpse Bride, you got Sweeney Todd. All of these were awesome, you know, and then like around 2010, again, the change of the decade, people get tired of shit. Around 2010, Alice in Wonderland comes out, and it was okay, but it's kind of like, all right, I think we need to separate you. You over there, you over there. I said that exact same thing in another video, but it's true. We needed to separate Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. There was too much of that going on. It got tired. People are sick of it. But if Tim Burton and Johnny Depp announced that they were going to do another movie together, maybe enough time has passed now that people might be like, oh, okay, you know, it's been a while. MTV's Fear, which is corny, but we loved it, and it was a big part of like our high school years. So many cool things to revisit, so many cool things that will be revisited. Probably some shit that we've forgotten about, honestly, after all this time. But I'm really looking forward to it. I have a good feeling about this decade. I think that we're headed in a positive direction. I think it's going to be a little rocky to start, but it's you know, it's all about the journey. All right, guys, that's all she wrote.